Hi, everyone. It's been a while since we've chatted. This is the informational session that I wanted to give to everybody on library needs and library use here at Allen College. And I am recording this using Google Hangouts, and then I park my tape or my recording onto YouTube. And I started doing this probably about 6 months ago. I was having some issues with students being able to see, having good access to informational sessions that I've recorded. And we have a couple of different options here at Allen College to make a recording. But I found this was the easiest way for me to do something in my office, because a lot of times I do things spur of the moment, and just because of the way that my schedule goes. And this is the easiest way for me to do this. Some of you commented when I sent out the email that you wanted to try or wanted to know more about Google Hangouts. And if you want to learn how to record sessions in this manner, I would be happy to show you. Once you figure it out, it's pretty easy. But like I said, we have a couple of different options here at the college that our instructional designer can help you set up. A couple things in order. First, I have my scarf on. Those of you who saw the movies last semester, I always had a scarf. My hair has grown out at this point, so you don't have to watch that go on anymore. But there are some downsides. We talk about the funny things. There are some downsides to recording in this manner, and I'm speaking live. So if I totally screw up, it's going to be on the recording, unless I totally redo the recording. So there's some other mechanisms out there that allow you, especially if you're doing like a voiceover on a PowerPoint presentation, you can record according to each slide, and you can redo it until you're happy, and you can do some editing. This one, no, it's just live. So the main reason why I wanted to chat with everybody is to go over some different ways or to access or just get a general sense about whether or not your library needs are being met. We have some returning students. We have some new students, and so I just wanted to pass on some information to everyone. So I've got some notes here, and I'm going to go over a few things, and then my hope is that you will email me if you have any concerns. You could record your own Google Hangout and send it back to me. If you wanted to talk, I'm available by Skype. I'm available by phone, email, however you want to have a conversation. So just to give you an update, today is February 25th, and we found out earlier this week, Allen College has been trying to work on getting work with you and I on a kind of a library collaboration, let's call it that. And we found out probably a month, 2 months ago, that what we had in the works wasn't going to pan out, and it has to do with cost. So since you are students here at Allen College, at this point some of our databases and some of our library services aren't necessarily as robust as we would like them to be for master students. And with that in mind, I wanted to be able to provide you guys with some help, because when I was a student, where I attended, we had a fairly robust library database, online database, access to an online database, but it wasn't perfect. Nothing is. And so my intent is to share some tips and tricks with you that I use, so that just to make life a little bit more bearable when you're trying to find all of the information that you need in order to write papers and support projects that you're working on. So the UNI collaboration deal that we were hoping for doesn't look like it's going to go through, but we did find out on Monday about some new databases that we have coming hopefully soon. As soon as we find out when we have access to these databases, I will be sure to pass that on. We are going to be getting access to ProQuest. Primarily, there's a lot of resources on ProQuest. One resource that I know of that's very helpful is ProQuest has a lot of dissertations on it, and we'll talk about that more here in a little bit. Also, my understanding is, and I hope I have this phrased right, we are going to get access to a database called Education Search Complete. I use that quite a bit in my PhD program, so if it's the one that I'm thinking of, I will be very happy to see that one come on board. We do have existing databases right now. If hopefully everybody knows how to get access to our EBSCO databases. And one thing I want to point out, when you do go onto the EBSCO site via the Allen College library page, and you log in, you need to go through the list of databases that are available and choose the ones according to your needs. Now, we are our largest bunch of students here are nursing students, so the library does seem to be somewhat catered toward nursing, but there are a variety of different databases to choose from when you're doing an EBSCO host. And so make sure that you choose the ones that you want to use within your library search. We talked about the new databases already. I also want to remind you, if you haven't looked or online for Boolean search modifiers, the and, or, not, near. If you're unfamiliar with using searches that incorporate those functions, do a web search for Boolean search options. There's a lot of sites out there that will help you decide when it's a good idea to use those search modifiers, when it's not. It can help you narrow things down. Also, when you enter the actual search area on the EBSCO page, there are a lot of filters and other things that are available for you to choose. So hopefully those will help you modify or make your searches a little bit more efficient. One other resource that I'm sure a lot of you use is Google Scholar. That is different from Google, and then it's targeted more towards journals, books. I think a lot of people are using that already. Also, the Cochrane Library, Cochrane. That is a free database of studies more directed toward evidence-based medicine, but you might find, depending on the type of project that you're using, that might be something that would be helpful to you. That you can also choose the Cochrane Library or the Cochrane Collection as part of the databases that exist already in our EBSCO program. So keep that in mind. But if you want to go specifically and look at the information that they have within that library collection, that is a good one to search because it is free. One other good resource that I have found that might be useful to find, other websites that have resources and materials that apply to whatever search or whatever project you're working on, is called the oh, that's on my second page. We'll come back to that. Never mind, forget what I said. See, this is the bad thing about doing this live. Some other options that you have for library searches. One thing that I was told when I started my PhD program is to find a brick and mortar library that is in your area and determine what their borrowing strategies are, what their rules for borrowing are. And one thing that we did find out when we were working with UNI on a collaboration deal was for students that live in this area, and students that don't necessarily live in this area, and it might be worthwhile for you to drive if you don't have a brick and mortar library close by that's a large institution. UNI will allow people that drive here or come on site on the library. You can look at any of the books while you're using the library, sitting in the library. You can access all of the databases. You can save articles to an external drive or cloud. If you are keeping articles within the cloud, you can physically go to the library and have access to all of those materials. The same is probably true for other state institutions, but that's where you have to go and check and see what their policies are. UNI will let people check out a book with a guest library card, but in order to access the databases, you actually have to go there. And so it might be worthwhile if you live close to Iowa State, you live close to University of Iowa, or even if Omaha, if you live somewhere close to Omaha, or somewhere that has a large research library or state-funded university or any kind of university, it might be worthwhile to go see what their on-site lending practices are. I did use that occasionally when I was a student myself. Also, how I survived here when I was finishing up my PhD is I used our library quite extensively to get interlibrary loan books and articles. And so hopefully you are all familiar with the interlibrary loan form that's on the Allen College Library page. You can fill that out to get a book that's loaned to you. You can fill that out if there's a journal article that you want and you can't get access to it. You can ask any article that I couldn't get a hold of, and I asked our librarians to find. They were able to do so for me free of charge. So when you fill out that interlibrary loan form, you can put down the amount that you would be willing to pay. And sometimes as a graduate student, you just have to accept if it's an article I really, really want or need, I may have to pay for it. But I would always put 0, and I never had any issue getting an article for myself. So that is something for you to consider as well. If it's something that you can wait a little bit to get an article, definitely use the librarians here to get that article for you. Some other just general survival tips, search strategies. One thing that I did quite extensively, and I've heard some of you have figured this out as well, find a dissertation, find an article, something that relates to whatever project you're working on that you feel is indispensable, and then go pillage the bibliography. That's often how I would exhaust a particular search strategy or a particular subject. Is I would find 2 or 3 articles that I liked and just follow their bibliography and look to see if I could get those same articles and do research, and then looked at those bibliographies to see if I could find any resources. If you can find a dissertation that correlates or is on the same topic as whatever project you're working on, that's another good place to go bibliography hunting. So use those available resources too. You don't necessarily always have to start from 0. One other thing that I found was helpful is to phone a friend, or what I call phone a friend. So say you're trying to do a search on a particular subject, and no matter what you do, you can't find anything. Ask one of your classmates, how would you search? What search phrases would you use to search this particular topic? Send it to me. Sometime I can't explain sometimes how my brain works, just because I've been doing this for so long. I can type in a search strategy and find something different than what you found. So if you're stuck and you think you can't find anything, or you're not finding good articles that relate to whatever topic you're working on, ask somebody else to do a search for you and just see if that kind of pulls up some different phrases or some different ways to look at something, so you can get some different resources. All right, now I'm on page 2, and I can talk about the things that I was trying to jump ahead. There are some paid library resources or paid library options that you can use if you just feel like your resources are very, very limited. I know some people used a resource called Questia, Questia. It is an online, and it looked like, of course, when you have resources like that where you have to pay, they always hide the cost. On that page, it said as low as $1.93 a day. So I don't know if they have a monthly subscription, a yearly subscription, but access to online journals that are considered, pay for articles. If you find you are doing a great deal, you're paying for a large number of articles that pertain to your particular topic, sometimes it can be anywhere from $25 to $40. And I've got caught on that myself a couple times. I think, oh, this is the most perfect article I pay for, and it turns out to not be great. But you find that that's the only way that you can find information that pertains to your topic, you may want to consider a monthly subscription or to a resource like that. Wiley Online is another online library that has a lot of journal articles that pertain to business, education. So it's something that might be online if you're working on a particular project. And then Internet Public Library. This is more of where they collect websites, I guess is the best way to describe. They have collections that pertain to particular topics, and that might be a good way to find resources that could lead to other articles that would relate to whatever project you might be working on. So those are just some tips and tricks, things that I want to hear back from you guys, by email or however you want to get into contact with me. Are your library needs being met? If they are not being met, what are you doing to try to get the articles or resources or books that you need? Are you purchasing a lot of books? Are you purchasing a lot of articles? Did I share anything with you that you were not already aware of? If you're having trouble finding things that pertain to your work or your projects, and you're stuck, I'm happy to help you with any kind of searches. Ask your classmates, what's your strategy for this particular subject? Those are just some ideas. But mainly, I want to hear if there's any deficiencies that you are feeling from a resource standpoint, please let me know, because then I can take those on to committee and or to the dean, and I can say, hey, my students need some help. Or if you have access to databases through wherever you work, and you are finding you are using those to predominantly find your resources, let me know, because then I can make a case for the librarian to buy access to that database. So basically, I just need some feedback from you guys. How are things going? If you're having issues, what are they? Do you have any ideas for potential solutions? If everything's great, just let me know. It's really cold today, so sometimes it's fun to just talk about other things so that you don't think about the cold. And I just found out that daylight savings time is in 2 weeks, and that makes me really angry to give up that hour. And so I may have to go buy a new scarf or something to deal with it. So anyway, I hope that the semester is going well for you guys, that you're finding balance between work, family, life, whatever it is that you do, basket weaving, whatever. Hopefully you're finding time to fit all of that in. And just let me know if there's anything I can do, anything that you want to chat about. Thanks, and talk to you soon. Bye.